Hi, friends. I've got a wonderful story to read with you today. Miss Nelson is Missing, written by James Marshall. If you don't already know the story, I am dressed up as one of the main characters, which is Miss Swamp, Miss Viola Swamp. Hopefully, you'll enjoy the story with me. Miss Nelson is Missing. Harry Allard and James Marshall. For my sister Jacqueline. For Ned Takashi. The kids in room 207 were misbehaving again. Spitballs stuck to the ceiling. Paper planes whizzed through the air. They were the worst behaved class in the whole school. Can you imagine that? The whole school? Now settle down, said Miss Nelson in a sweet voice. But the class would not settle down. They whispered and giggled. They squirmed and made faces. They were even rude during story time. And they always refused to do their lessons. Something will have to be done, said Miss Nelson. The next morning, Miss Nelson did not come to school. Wow, yelled the kids. Now we can really act up. They began to make more spitballs and more paper planes. Today, let's just be terrible, they said. Not so fast, hissed an unpleasant voice. Who do you think's talking? Not so fast. A woman in an ugly black dress stood before them. I am your new teacher, Miss Viola Swamp. As she rapped her desk with her ruler, where is Miss Nelson? Asked the kids. Never mind that, snapped Miss Swamp. Open those arithmetic books. Miss Nelson's kids did as they were told. They could see that Miss Swamp was a real witch. She meant business. Right away, she put them to work, and she loaded them down with the homework. Can you see how many books they have? We'll have no story hour today, said Miss Swamp. Keep your mouth shut, said Miss Swamp. Sit perfectly still, said Miss Swamp. And if you misbehave, you'll be sorry, said Miss Swamp. Days went by, and there was no sign of Miss Nelson. The kids missed Miss Nelson. Maybe we should try to find her, they said. Some of them went to the police. Detective McSmog was assigned to the case. He listened to their story. He scratched his chin. He said, I think Miss Nelson is missing. Detective Smog would not be much help. The other kids went to Miss Nelson's house. The shades were drawn tight. There was no answer at the door. In fact, the only person they did see was wicked Miss Viola Swamp. Coming up the corner. If she sees us, she'll give us more homework. They got away just in time. I was worried about what homework they were going to get. up by a shark, said one of the kids. But that didn't really seem likely. Maybe Miss Nelson went to Mars, said another kid. But that didn't seem likely either. I know, exclaimed one know it all. Maybe Miss Nelson's car was carried off by a swarm of angry butterflies. But that was least likely of all. The kids in room 207 became very discouraged. It seemed that Miss Nelson was never coming back. They would be stuck with Miss Viola Swamp forever. They heard footsteps in the hall. Here comes the witch, they whispered. Hello, children, someone said in a sweet voice. What do you think it's going to be? It was Miss Nelson. Did you miss me? She asked. We certainly did, cried all the kids. Where were you? That's my little secret, said Miss Nelson. How about story hour? Oh, yes, cried the children. Miss Nelson noticed that during story time, no one was rude or silly. What brought about this lovely change, she asked. That's our little secret, said the class. Back home, Miss Nelson took off her coat and hung it in her closet, right next to her ugly mattress. And when it was time for bed, she sang a little song. I'll never tell, she said to herself with a smile. I'll never tell. P.S. Detective Miss Smog is working on a new case. He is now looking for Miss Viola Swan. I hope you enjoyed that story with me. Have a wonderful, happy Halloween. Goodbye, friends.